Hi guys, thanks for joining us for some more Real Talk Dog Talk. I'm Tori.
And I'm Barb.
For those of you who haven't joined us before, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at realtalkdogtalk@yahoo.com.
And if you are a regular listener and or emailer, we love to hear from you. Keep those emails coming in. It gives us a lot of ideas for our podcasts. So today I just want to let everybody know we are having some audio issues, and we're working on those, so I hope you can bear with us a little bit. We thought we had it curtailed. We didn't, so we're doing the best we can. We'll keep working on that.
I am not getting more dogs so that we can fill the room. I'm not doing it. Okay.
We're going to have wall-to-wall dogs trying to get this audio problem fixed.
That's right. Who needs an actual audio room? We're just going to stuff it with dogs and call her good, you know.
Well, I hope no one gets electrocuted on the equipment when you get them that many in here.
Oh, just have to tape them to the wall or something.
The dogs?
Yeah.
I think that's against the law.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to see the rule. Where?
We'll Google that.
All right.
Okay.
Check it out.
Anyhow, today our topic is going to be one that does not make any points with people. I know probably a lot of trainers and people that do group sessions, individual sessions, probably are not real keen to bring up. It's kind of like burning a bridge behind you.
Yep.
But we get a lot of questions sent in to us. People who know me call, text with various questions about training and handling of their dog. And so our topic today is, what would we call it, Tori?
Well, wording it nicely is different than just saying it.
So maybe we just need to say it.
Yeah, we might.
I think I'm going to just say the topic today is difficult dog owners.
Yes.
And,
yep.
You know, a lot of times when I get, phone calls from people, they're like, oh, hey, and actually this just happened to me from, a local person. They had moved and their dog was having adjustment issues and were very much having a hard time with separation, being left in the new home. And I did make a training suggestion, and the immediate reaction to me was, oh, that's not going to work.
And how did she know it wasn't going to work?
She or he.
Or they, yeah. I guess I don't know who it was, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure how they would have known it because we were still on the phone, so I don't know. She hadn't even applied it or done any research on it or anything. So this is the thing that makes training dogs difficult.
Right.
I think that's why some trainers choose to just do the training for the people and not necessarily with the people.
Right, and that would make a ton of sense. Why make those extra problems when you can just train the dog on your own and send it back?
Yeah. And, well, I think some of that comes from, actually, I think there's some problems with owners being involved with the training that isn't really talked about. And I'll be honest, I prefer dogs to people. I say it all the time.
Yep.
Dogs are much more obedient than the people.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes I think that when you're working with someone training their dog, I think sometimes they don't really understand the method.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes I think, this is probably going to offend people, but you got to explain it to them like they're a kid. Just really simplify it as much as you can.
Yeah, break it down.
Which sometimes that doesn't even work, but...
And, even if you spend time talking to them, I suppose it could just be a misunderstanding of what you're saying.
Right.
Just wordage even. I'm not one that I communicate quite clearly.
Yeah. Well, you do for sure.
I think I do. But so that I know that's one thing that's kind of a factor with the training is just I think you have to be on the same page as the person. And then too, when I think about this too, I think, after you've done all this work with the person in the session, in the 6 weeks, whatever it might be, I mean, are they going home and applying the training methods that you're showing them to the dog outside of those classes?
Right.
Because you can't train a dog by working with them once a week.
No, it goes back to just the basic training and stuff. I mean, consistency and all of that. If you're not going to be consistent and you're not going to do what the trainer says that you need to be doing, your dog's going to, there's absolutely zero benefit to that.
Well, and I think most trainers just, and this is just my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but, if you take a dog home that, say you spend an hour with a trainer and they're showing you different things, you go home and you try to apply that yourself and have training sessions. If you're not having great success with that, I don't know, just the trainers I know, I don't think any of them are bothered by a phone call or a text saying, hey, I'm not sure what the problem is, but it's not working for me.
Right.
And then sometimes that trainer can help you revamp what you're doing just with like a small tweak of either the situation, the handling of, maybe the location of where you're doing the training.
Right.
But I think pretty much any trainer would be open to, phone calls or some sort of communication to maybe tweak that a little bit.
Well, and when you are having that conversation with the trainer, I mean, what you really need to make sure is you're being honest about what you're doing, not doing, how things are getting done, and all of that, because they can't give you a good idea of how to fix the problem. If it's just a phone call, they're going to need more information than just, it's not working.
Well, the last podcast we had, we were reviewing that book.
Yes.
What was it? Maintaining the Peace?
Keeping the Peace.
Keeping the Peace.
Yep.
One thing in there, they talked about doing a diary or, some sort of cataloging of the situations.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you write down what's going on with the dog while you're training them, there might be an outside party that can actually pick up on that and see something tiny that you're doing that could be changed.
Well, and you might even see it yourself, too. If you're writing it down, you might, be looking at that and say, oh, well, duh.
I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I know, too, for some people, and you're kind of like this, Tori, change is hard.
It is hard. I don't like it.
People get into a routine, kind of a rut. I call it a rut.
Yeah.
Some people call it a routine. But sometimes when you have a dog, you just have to kind of be able to make adjustments to your life, whether it be getting up a half an hour earlier and taking your dog for a walk, which I am not a morning person, so I totally get that that'd be a drag, but sometimes you gotta make changes in your life to better the dog.
Well, and when you're a dog owner, I mean, you have to put them as a priority, so if you're not willing to do that work, just don't get a dog.
Well, the dogs are work, so you're right. If you are not going to apply yourself to that dog, and again, be can be within your house, in the kitchen while you're making supper, or while the kids are getting ready for bed. You can be in the living room or the dining room doing a little tiny short miniature session. Yeah. So it's okay to take little tiny training sessions, but I think you have to be willing to alter your routine, maybe your schedule. Everybody has a job, I understand that, but maybe, you have to do something different. You used to go home, I know we've talked about this before, you used to have a job where you could go home at your lunch hour, and you did dog stuff for that hour, and we're back to work. So, I mean, if that's something that is an option for you, that could be looked at. So I think you have to be open to change.
Well, and that's the thing, when I did have that job where I was able to go home at lunch, it would have been nice to be able to maybe go get lunch or do something like that. But you know what? my dogs are a priority, and especially when they're young, if that's something that needs to be done, I'm probably just going to go home and take care of them. And, you can find other times to do things with your friends,
Right, right. And then I think well, I think one thing is that, and this is where I could get in trouble saying this, but I think there's an emotional aspect to what is going on with the training, and a lot of people get frustrated with their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get frustrated, the dogs can kind of tell. I believe that you're putting off that energy that just is a lot of frustration, and then the dogs, I think, take that as a negative towards them, and they aren't getting the positive that they need, saying, "Hey, you did great." And sometimes with a more high-strung dog, it's a very small window of being good.
Right.
But you have to not get frustrated. You just have to learn to respond quicker.
Well, and I actually, one of my dogs, if I show any sign of frustration, irritation, anything like that, she absolutely will not come into the house.
Yeah.
She will run, she will take off, she doesn't want, nope, she's not going to do it. And she will just stand there and stare at me even because she's not going to do that. I mean, the other ones are all right. They don't really seem to be that bothered by it if I'm, a little bit more, hey, get over here. But her, you can't. You have to stay
Happy.
super bubbly. Come here.
Super, super happy. Yeah. Well, and, too, I think if you're trying to do a training session and it isn't going well, I always say you need to end a training session on a positive note.
Yep.
So if your frustration level is getting to the point where you're not feeling anything is going right, then what I would do is do a simple command, which like something like sit.
Right.
Give them a treat and stop.
That's that.
Don't even continue on. If you're so frustrated that you're getting annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not the time to do the training. And then have a cup of coffee, have a pop, sit down and watch a show for a half an hour, and start over when your frustration level is down.
Yep. And I have had to do that too because, again, I am a person who gets frustrated, and I do have to stop on a decent note and then, continue on a little bit later when I've, am not doing that. Because they can sense that even when, not just calling my dogs in, but they can read all the emotions off of you. So
Right.
you really just need to, if you can't calm down, maybe a different day is better.
Well, and, I used to get frustrated with Ziggy because he's not very good about coming in at night. He likes to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
And my deck has 2 stairways coming up.
Yes.
And I used to get mad because I would be calling him to come up the stairs, and he always went under the deck and to the other stairs and would stand there. And what I realized is he actually was not ignoring me, but he did that so that he could come in the house without the other dogs barking at him.
That's a smart dog.
So he entered from another angle when, because he doesn't like being barked at.
Right, yeah.
So I think, too, instead of getting frustrated with things, I think you need to look at what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
try to end it on a positive note, and then reapproach it when you're feeling calmer.
Right. And that's going to be better for everybody. And honestly, I feel like when you do that and you kind of take that time to calm yourself down for the dog, that's probably improving you too. Know it or not,
Well, and like, you say that your dog only responds when you're happy, happy, happy.
Right.
I think it does make you more conscious of how you're behaving.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to, and I do it. I mean, Fridays are my crazy busy day.
Yes.
I mean, we have a lot going on that day. So, when I go in the house, I know that, I have a ton of stuff to get done.
Yep.
Dogs need to listen to me. And I would imagine that someone watching would think that I was crabby and blah, blah. And, hurry, 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 sit, lay down, get here, get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it makes you more conscious of how you're behaving around your dogs.
Well, it definitely does. And I'm just talking about me personally because I have had the experience where even, we've been talking about issues I've had with dogs, nothing real big, but I've even said, oh, that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I hadn't tried it, so how can I just say, oh, that's not going to work? Or, so I've kind of been that difficult client before.
Well, and that is true. I mean, I know you and I have talked about that too, but there are things that might seem so small, such a small change, that people might think there's no way that's going to make a difference.
Right. Yep.
So I think you have to try those things because sometimes it is just a small change or variation of what you're already doing.
Yep.
That will actually trigger some awesome behavior.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's where coming in, paying attention to how you're acting and reacting is a really big deal because that could be the small thing that's causing things not to go right.
Right.
Just not realizing you have a tone or you're getting flustered or frustrated and, well,
when you see your dog's ears go down and they get the big sad eyes, you've
right.
gone too far with your bad mood or your frustration, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But so when you're hearing your trainer or the person you go to, if it's your mom or whatever,
Yep.
making suggestions that you think won't work because it's such a silly, stupid little thing, that might be the cue for you to give it a shot and
Right.
see if that is something that'll help your situation.
Yep. Well, and it's, you've said it before in a couple different episodes, but you really have got to be honest about you and your dog in situations like this. I know some people, they just are kind of in denial, but when you love your dog so much, sometimes you just don't realize it, and you need to listen to somebody from outside who's not emotional about it and can say, you know what, you do need to fix this, and this is a problem, and stuff like that. Which I get it. I think my dogs are the best.
Well, I think my dogs think they're the best.
they probably do. Yeah.
I don't think they're worried about what I think. They're thinking they are something else.
Look at me go.
But yeah, I think that is true, and I do say that really you have to be honest with yourself about where your dog is with his behavior.
Right.
If you keep excusing bad behavior and acting like it's okay, or refusing, if you are seeking out help and refusing to accept anything that person says, I mean, you're setting that dog up for bad times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where it could go. I mean, there's so many different ways. But you want to make sure that you're setting that dog up for success and listen to yourself, being honest, pay attention to the dog, and hear what the trainer or person that you go to is saying.
Well, and if it's a matter of, you're just embarrassed and you don't want to tell them what you've tried and haven't tried, you know what? They've probably heard it all.
And more.
And more, yeah. So, if it's something that you're really wanting, you really want your dog trained well and, you got goals and all that stuff, yeah, listen. And don't be embarrassed by it because they've probably heard worse, I don't know if that's really what I wanted to say.
Another thing that I think, not just listening to what the trainer says, but I think you have to have realistic expectations of what your dog is going to learn. I've seen posts, and I don't even know who, but I've always rolled my eyes, but occasionally there will be trainers that put their posts on that your dog will be fully trained in 2 weeks or your money back, you don't pay.
Wow.
And I'm thinking in my head, are you rushing to train that dog, or are you trying to train that dog good?
Well, and every dog is different, so you can't say, 2 weeks for every dog.
Right.
Because it depends on the dog. It also does depend on the client as well, the dog owner, because what effort are they putting in?
How much time do they have to spend with it?
Right.
But so I always kind of chuckle, and I'm kind of cautious of any training program that guarantees fast results, because slower and more consistent and steady training, even if it's less in a day,
Right.
if you keep that up, just ongoing, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, I mean, I think that is really going to teach the dog not just to obey, but to think for themselves.
Yeah.
When they see a plate of food on the coffee table and the owner has done slow, steady, consistent training, they're far more likely to walk away from that tray of food than a dog that has been taught in 1 week, 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Don't do it. Because you're teaching the dog to think, not to obey.
Right. And dogs are smart. So, I mean, if you're consistent, even the ones that aren't as much, if you're consistent with any dog, that eventually they're going to pick it up. I mean,
they are. And it's that slower, more consistent training that I think is so important for the dogs, and a lot less confusing.
Right.
When you have fast expectations, inconsistent training, if you go once a week for training and then do nothing in between, the dog's kind of confused, because then they think pretty much the only time they have to, sit, lay down, place, whatever you're teaching them is when they're at this facility.
Right.
Then they don't understand why you're wanting them to do it at home all of a sudden after 5 days away from the training.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in training too, I mean, I try and look at it too, because I do get a little bit frustrated.
So I think it's important to, regardless of how long or short your training sessions are, to make sure to continue on with what you're learning in the sessions, and make sure that you actually are listening to the person that you have, if you're seeking out their help, then your part of that is to listen and give them the information that they need to help you with your situation.
Right. Be open to new ideas, even if you're a person that's stuck in their own ways and all that. It's like you said, I mean, you're seeking help from somebody else, so.
I used to work at a vet clinic, and every now and then we had people that would call and say, oh, this is happening and I don't know what to do, and I know you're not a trainer, but do you have any ideas what we could do to fix it? And I would make suggestions. I would make a couple different suggestions, and they would say, I did that, or I don't think that'll work.
Right.
Or I heard bad things about it. Or sometimes they would say all three things. And it was like, in my head, I'm thinking, well, then it's a lost cause. You may as well put the dog down.
Nothing else you can do.
Yeah, you've tried all these things. He's a goner, you know?
Yep.
And I would always, I never said it. That was my inner voice, and it was so frustrating, because, I'd get off the phone and I'd look at my coworker and say, oh, I hate getting calls like that. People always have these questions and they never want to listen. And so it's really important to, listen if you're looking for help or needing help, or your dog is just, got you frustrated. You need to make sure to hear what people are saying to you.
Well, and training's not just about teaching your dog to do this or that or, whatever else, but, I think it's a great way to bond with your dogs. I mean, to you it might just be work, but to them, you're spending time with them, you're focused on them. There's a lot of really great bonding upsides. I don't even know.
Well, actually, that's a very true point. And not only does it create bonding, but also then the dog learns to look to you for leadership.
Right, which is huge. You want them to look to you as the leader of the pack. Yeah.
Right, and if they have come upon situations that make them feel unsure or scared or, it's just a confusing situation, then you are going to be what makes them feel better. And that's really important, to have that connection. And, I always talk about, the love hormones, that just massaging your dog and petting them and rubbing the ears for just a minute a day increases those hormones and actually helps with the bond of you and your dog. And it's amazing to me that if you take the time to learn and apply yourself and hear what people have to say, it takes such a small amount of time to create that bond, whether it be massaging and taking that one-on-one time to just pet them, rub their ears and head, or 2 minutes in the kitchen, 2 minutes at night, 3 minutes in the afternoon. Maybe you work from home and you want to have a lunch break where you step outside with your dog on a nice day and do a little bit of training out there. I mean, all these small opportunities to spend with your dog and teach them things just creates a stronger bond and a healthier dog psychologically and emotionally.
Enzo likes to hold hands, so sometimes we do that.
And that is, I'm sure, raising his love hormones just as much as a massage to the ears.
He seems to enjoy it. He reaches far out for me. So,
well,
yeah.
Actually, Enzo was mad at Tori just a little bit before the podcast started, and he wasn't going to do it.
No.
He said no. She kept reaching out to him, and he just gave her the eyes and
stared.
Yeah.
How rude. You know what? I don't want to hold your hand either, buddy.
There was not a bonding moment there.
Mm-mm.
Anyhow, yeah, so that's, it's important to think about that. I mean, you got to look at the whole picture. And that's another thing is the amount of time it takes to correct some of these things. If you listen to the person who is helping you, and they are there to help you, because in all reality, there's not a ton of money in dog training.
Right. I believe that, though.
So there has to be a certain amount of love and compassion and care behind those people who want to help you with your dogs, and give you a happier, healthier life. But I did work with a dog one time. He was just a little tiny Pomeranian Papillon something mix. Super adorable dog. But he had a very bad habit of biting himself. He would turn and look at his butt.
Yep.
And keep an eye on it, and then all of a sudden he would attack it, and he shredded his tail.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just awful. And I did some work with him, and through our local humane society, and the correction for him was super simple. It took a few little steps working towards it, which I did that. But I found, after working with him for weeks, that if I paid attention to him, and that's a big thing, paying attention, and I would see him turn and look at his butt,
Yep.
and I knew he was getting mad at himself.
Yep.
And I would just distract him. I'd say, whistle, say, come here, or I'd throw a toy his way, and then get excited when he went after it. And pretty soon he forgot about his butt.
Right.
And he did not attack himself.
Yep.
And so when he went up for adoption, they asked me to come in and, show people how to work with the dog. And you would not believe how many people looked at this adorable dog and walked away from him because they felt like it was too much work to keep an eye on him and distract him from attacking himself.
And that makes me wonder, what do you have a dog for? If it's too much work to just pay attention.
Right.
Like, that just blows my mind, because he was super cute. He was totally worth I watch my dogs all the time, and they probably wish I wouldn't.
Well, and generally dogs want to be around you, so it's not like you got to go hunting. hunt
You're
them
right.
down, see where they're at, what are they doing, go in here, go in there. They're usually, within, a short distance of yourself because dogs like to be with their people.
Yep.
So the amount of work that would have taken was pretty much none.
Right.
It just was a matter of, like, paying attention. So really, I guess this entire podcast is about, working with the person that you choose for help on teaching your dog house manners and basic training. Even
Right.
if you go further than basic training,
Yep.
you want to research your trainers,
Yep.
be comfortable with them.
Well, and that's it. To have a conversation with them before you start training with them. I mean, is this somebody that you are going to want to talk to? If you get into a conversation, tell them what you're looking for. You guys can come up with a training plan together, which, that might make it a little bit easier to have an open mind if you have a conversation beforehand.
I think if you set up your goals, then you have, you're both going the same direction.
Right.
I think that's where the research and communication's, really helpful
Yeah.
to start it off right there.
Yeah.
Then you have an idea of where you're going. We all just got slimed by Enzo. He shook his head and shot it all over us here. He doesn't look sad about it.
No. Adorable, but definitely not sad.
He's not sorry.
No.
But anyhow, if you're starting off with a trainer, get that communication going so that they understand what your situation is, the dog's situation is, and make sure that you're starting off on the wrong track. That's right.
Right. That was the wrong track.
You heard that here. No, make sure you're starting off on the right track.
Right.
And that will help reduce the confusion for the dog,
Yep.
for yourself, and then the trainer is not wasting their time.
And that's the thing. And if you are the trainer, that can help you, figure out where this person is at with where they're, obviously, like you said, I mean, there's the same end goal, have the dog trained and all this.
A happy life for the family, the owner, and the dog.
Yeah.
Or dogs.
Yep. And, that's the thing. Maybe, that might help your client be able to have a little bit more open mind and say, okay, well, that might work. I'm not going to just totally discount that because I think it's silly, even just getting that familiarity with people is, I think, probably a good thing too, just getting things.
It is. And, I think anybody that is actually a good trainer,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I am fairly knowledgeable about dogs and handling them.
Yes.
But there are times that somebody who really doesn't know their beans will actually come up with something that I haven't thought of.
Right.
So, I mean, a good trainer is going to hear what you have to say.
They have an open mind too.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the thing you need to look into. But I am going to say, I'm sure trainers don't want to just flat out be rude and say it. I'm going to be rude.
Yep.
Listen to what people are telling you.
Yep. Open those
And-
ears and shut your mouth.
And try a thing or two.
Right.
Because it does the dog no good. In fact, it can kind of make him go backwards, in my opinion,
Right.
if, you aren't putting the effort in hearing what people are saying.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you're not going to get very far if you just shut someone down right off the bat. Does it seem silly? Maybe to you, but is it going to work? It might. You don't know.
Sometimes dogs are silly.
I got one of those.
Well, Ziggy, he's my escape artist.
Yes.
I'm not sure where. I have a 5-foot fence. Some areas are 6-foot fence around my dog area where they have their daily time out, and he can escape.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I find a way to block it, he finds a new way out. And, when he leaves, he's not really running away.
No.
He is exploring great places, new cockabur bushes out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And what I do is when I see him outside the fence. I used to chase him because I was worried. I didn't want anyone, mistaking him for a wild animal and shooting him. I didn't want, a tractor hitting him. I do live in the country. So I was worried. I was like, come back, come back, come back.
Right, yeah, don't go.
All I was doing was driving that dog further and further away from him.
Yep.
From me, I'm sorry.
Right.
And what I started doing was being super excited.
Yeah.
I was like, what is my boy doing? And I would just be so excited. He would see me and see that I was excited.
Yeah.
So then he got excited.
Yeah.
And the more excited I got, he had to come and see what was going on.
Yeah, it is exciting over there. I better check it out.
And he came back.
He did.
And that was it. And
Yep.
that is not probably, some people might think I'm praising him for being outside the fence, but all I'm doing is creating an excitement to draw him back into the yard.
Right. Well, I do recall one time I was there when he got out, and I was concerned. And you really weren't, but I was like, oh, I'll go get him. It's fine. Just let me, I'm going to go get him. So I went out, and wood ticks are not my thing, so I had to be very brave. And I found out in the end it wasn't necessary because he led me all through the woods behind the house. And I came out without him, couldn't figure out where he went, and here he comes circling around the other way. He took me on a little hike in the woods just 'cause.
And then he was back at the front gate waiting to come in the yard. Yep.
Yeah. I was like, excuse you? What? I mean, my fault for falling for that, but hey, he knew what he was doing.
And when you came back out of the woods, I said if you would have just been excited, you would have just come back.
Yep. He really wasn't, and he wasn't running. He was just steadily moving, further and further, and he's more agile in that environment than I am, obviously.
Less worried about wood ticks.
Yeah, so, he's already out front with Mom, and I'm like, cockabur is getting out of my pants, and he's just standing there happy as a lark. I'm like, oh, thanks, Ziggy. I did need to go for a walk, you're right.
So some, that's what we're saying is some methods might seem a little silly.
Yep.
Not traditional.
Yep.
Kind of outside the box thinking, but if you have a dog that has some quirks, sometimes you have to go outside that box and come up with new ideas.
Yep.
But yeah, so listen to what people say, hear what they have to say. I know there's forums out there. I personally don't care for them because I think sometimes they kind of attack each other.
Yeah.
And even though I do offend on occasion, I certainly do not ever want people feeling like I am personally attacking their methods or their ways. Abuse, I will attack that.
Oh, yeah.
But, everybody has their own ideas, and I think that's great. Sometimes I get ideas from it. But you can check into forums maybe and see if there's any discussions going on that might give you some information.
Yep.
But whatever you're doing, make sure that you try things that are in the best interest of your dog and be open-minded and prepared to hear that your dog is not quite as awesome as you think they are.
Well, and it does happen. As much as we love them, sometimes they're a little rotten. So...
I love Ziggy with all my heart. He is out of one of my favorite females that has passed away. So he's got a special spot in my heart. But man,
he is naughty.
And when the snow gets high and there's like 3 feet of snow, he just hops right out of the fence. The other dogs wait for me. They kind of don't want to leave me.
Yeah.
But, he's not the same. So he's not as awesome as I think he is. But I love him just the same.
Yeah.
I just have to do things different for him than I do the others.
Right. And if you're, a good dog owner, not necessarily correct, but a good one where you love your dog and they're a priority, that is the way it's going to be. Their little quirks are just going to probably be more endearing and adorable than, naughty and, oh, how dare you,
Right.
So.
Right. So, that's kind of a rant of mine because I do get people ask questions and they don't want to hear it or try it or anything. But be more open-minded and, if you don't want to, you don't want to, but we're just saying.
It's going to make you a lot happier if you stick with it, because maybe it's tough for a little bit, but you know what? They're going to figure it out, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. They're going to listen. You're going to do all the things you want to do just because you stuck with it.
And you're going to be more bonded.
That's right. So again, now that we've talked long enough,
As always,
yes. If you have any questions or comments, again, feel free to email us at realtalkdogtalk@yahoo.com.
And thank you for joining us. We hope that you will be here for our next podcast.
Bye.
Goodbye.